My husband and I were expecting our first daughter, and he suggested the name Tiffany, and I fell in love. When I asked what made him pick it, he said he saw it in a movie. I didn't think much of it, and so a couple weeks later, I called my sister-in-law to let her know we're going to name our daughter Tiffany. She was super surprised because she said she never wanted to name her child after her husband's high school girlfriend. I was really confused, but then she told me that they were together from sophomore year of high school to junior year of college. I knew he had a long-term relationship, but I never knew the girl's name. After hanging up, I confronted my husband, and he tried blowing it off at first, but eventually admitted that it was true. I told him I'm refusing to name my daughter after his ex-girlfriend, and he told me it's too late, I'm overreacting, and I can't change my mind since I'm only due in 5 more weeks. I basically cried to get as much information as I can when he finally told me that she had contacted him because she was getting married and was having second thoughts. My husband admitted that talking to her made him realize he never stopped having feelings for her, but he loved me too. The reason he suggested the name was because he knew he couldn't leave me to be with her, so he wanted something to honor her with. What do I do? Am I the asshole for insulting my boyfriend's weight in front of his friends? Relevant to the story, my boyfriend is 6 feet tall and about 229 pounds. I am 5'6" and about 120 pounds. From a medical standpoint, my boyfriend is obese and I am fairly normal weight. I really don't mind his weight. He was obese when I met him and that wasn't a problem for me. He has struggled with his weight for many years and constantly talks about wanting to lose weight but never actually diets or exercises. Again, not a huge deal for me, but I try to be supportive and offer him advice or general encouragement whenever he discusses his desire to lose weight. An occasional point of contention between us is that he has a tendency to offer me diet advice. For example, whenever I make a smoothie, he says, "You shouldn't drink those things, they're full of hidden calories." Or when I do strength training, he says, "You'll just gain weight because you'll put on too much muscle." It's annoying because nutrition and fitness are actually big passions of mine. I'm not an expert by any means, but I've done several courses and I feel I know more than the average person. Plus, I feel that I can demonstrably show that I can manage my own weight. So I don't like that he constantly feels the need to give me advice. This past weekend, he and I met up with a few of his friends at a beer garden. At some point, the guys were talking about their experiences with online dating. My boyfriend said that he'd used Tinder prior to meeting me, but then he deleted it because there were too many desperate fat chicks. He said this in such a disgusted, dismissive way that I genuinely saw red for a second and just blurted out, "Seriously, you're going to criticize fat chicks?" There was a really long, awkward pause, and then one of his friends made a joke and the conversation sort of moved on. But my boyfriend didn't speak to me for the rest of the evening. He texted me the next day and to say that it was incredibly rude and disrespectful to comment on his weight, especially in front of his friends. He says he thinks he wants a few days away from me to decide whether or not he can forgive me. I agree it was rude of me to call him out in front of his friends, but I also think what he said was obnoxious and borderline sexist. I've apologized to him, but I'm not sure if I'm genuinely the asshole here. So, am I the asshole? So this couple comes in together to buy an engagement ring, and they had a budget of about $20,000, which is a lot for an engagement ring. But the ring that she happened to pick out was about $35,000, which is a lot of money. And she was really adamant about picking it, and he was kind of reserved, like, it is a lot of money. But she's like, "No, if you love me, you'll buy it, yada, yada, yada." And he's like, "You know what? You're going to be my wife, the mother of my kids, whatever makes you happy." So after they finally decide, I pack it up for them. I'm like, "Here you go. Have a great marriage. Have a great life. Goodbye." About 3 weeks later, the fiance comes in, and I'm thinking she just wants to get the ring size or something. And she's like, "Can you guys take out the diamond and replace it with a cubic zirconium?" Cubic zirconium is a very cheap substitute for a diamond. So I was like, yeah, we can do that, but just give us 2 or 3 days. So she leaves, and I call her fiance because I was like, this is really suspicious. And he had no idea that she came into the shop or that she was coming in. So he calls me 2 days later, and he finds out that she was going to break up with him. She would have kept that diamond, and she would have given him the fake one. He would have returned it, and he would have gotten no money back. Talk about mess. When my parents decided to get a divorce, I chose to stay with my dad. He was more financially stable, and he also promised to take care of me in the future and help me go through college as long as I graduated. When my grandmother from my mother's side passed away, I received a $30,000 inheritance, and recently my grandfather from my father's side passed away and left me with $50,000 as well. I was also working part-time jobs, and with all of that, I was able to save enough to comfortably put me through my 4 years of school. One day, my mom surprised my stepsister and bought her a brand new car. I was kind of shocked because it was way out of their budget because I knew they were struggling financially. When I looked at my bank account, I saw that a majority of my money was missing. I have my mom on all of my accounts because she wanted to monitor to make sure I don't spend too much money. I never would have thought she would have taken this and paid for my stepsister's car. Her reasoning was that my stepsister had a brighter future and had a bigger possibility of going to an Ivy League school and providing for us in the future. I, a student who gets mostly B's and C's, would just take over the family business, so I didn't really need it, and I could always work in the future. Alright guys, this is a story of how I pierced my own ears. To give you some pretext, I'm the youngest child and all my siblings were in college. I was going through like that weird phase where like I dyed my hair red and I was like, I'm gonna do what I want when I want, and so I just wanted to pierce my ears. Even though I already had two, I just wanted a third hole, and so I got a safety pin, went to the kitchen, and then just put it over the fire. And I tried my best to disinfect it. Now that I look back onto it, I don't think I was really smart because I didn't even wipe down my ears with alcohol. I didn't even put ice on my ears. And I also didn't even mark it with like a Sharpie or something. And so I just kept pushing, like, and pushing and pushing and slowly pushing. And then you hear this loud ass pop noise, and that's how you know it's through. And I was like, oh, I can do this. It's not bad. So I ended up doing both my ears, but like I said, I didn't mark it. So one is slightly higher than the other, and it like really bothers me. To this day, I don't really wear my third hole, but can you guys tell if one's higher than the other? Because I can, but most people can't. Okay, so this happened during one of my harder college classes when the teacher gave us an exam. We flipped to the back where the cheat sheet should be for us, the formula sheet, and we realized that it was actually the answer sheet for the exam. Our professor got a phone call and had to step out for a few minutes, and so everyone in the class looked around each other and was pretty adamant on this is the answer sheet and he just made a mistake, but we all just gonna keep our lips shut and just get the exam done because it was a hard class. I went through every answer and got the same answer as the answer sheet, so everything was pretty legit, except for the last question where we had to draw a flow diagram, and on the answer sheet it said answers may vary. So I did to the best of my ability the flow diagram, and as I'm turning in my exam, I wanted to see what everyone else put. And these people put, for the last question, answers may vary. So if we weren't going to get caught before, we definitely were going to get caught now. Growing up as the youngest of 6 siblings, I knew at a really young age I would have to put myself through college. So by the time I was 19, I saved enough money to put me through college with the help of scholarships and have plenty left over. Well, my eldest sister got married a month ago, and my parents took out a second mortgage, $30,000 to help pay for her wedding. My dad lost his job right after, and I knew that they were struggling financially. So when my mom texted me a few weeks ago saying, call me as soon as you can, I knew what she was asking for. I didn't have a problem lending them a few thousand and help them pay their bills, and I'd also give them a few of my tutoring gigs to help make some extra cash. But what I didn't expect was my parents' demand that I gave them the near $40,000 I saved to put myself through college. When I disagreed, my mom said, you made that money under our roof. We were the ones who allowed you to work, so you have it because of us anyway. We bought you food and clothes for 18 years. I said that's the bare minimum when you sign up to become parents. And she hung up on me saying I wouldn't have the life I have today if it wasn't for them. I feel awful for refusing to help them out, but on the other hand, this was their fault. My fiancé and I have been together for 6 years and engaged for 3. We decided to wait until I finished with my PhD program for us to get married. I picked a beautiful wedding hall that I was on the waiting list for 3 years to get into. My older sister also got engaged and is planning her wedding 6 months after mine. At our family dinner, she recently revealed that she's pregnant. My sister recently revealed that she was expecting and was going to push her wedding date forward. And she put me on the spot at the table and said, I was really hoping we could take your venue. I really cannot stress myself too much with planning a wedding while going to maternity classes. And I think it's so beautiful and it would really mean a lot to me. I guess everyone is expecting me to say, yes, anything for my little sister. And when I looked at her, I said, I don't know. I have my heart really set on this venue. She started crying and she stormed out of the room. I tried defending myself, but my mom said, you waited 3 years. Would have killed you to wait a few more months? When has your sister ever asked you for something? My fiancé is super upset and wants to disinvite my sister. And my family is giving me the cold shoulder. So am I the asshole for not giving her the venue? One day while I was working on our spaceship, I was doing my task, and once I was done, I was moving to the other side of the spacecraft when I came upon a dead body. I went to the dead body to see if there's anything I could do to help out, and I was really scared, and as soon as I started crawling up for help or trying to report the body, someone else came and saw me with the body. So when they saw that, I know it looked really bad. It looked like I was the person who killed it, but I promise you it wasn't me, and I tried telling everyone, but it was no use. Everyone accused me of murder and saying I was the only one who was there and no one else saw me. The most frustrating thing in the world is when you're telling the truth and no one believes me. So of course, no one listened to me and they voted me off the damn ship, okay? And then they lost because that's what they get when they don't listen, because Pink is always sus and Pink is always lying, so it's always freaking Pink. Okay, so this is a story when I ran away at my first day of work. I live near an Amazon warehouse, so everyone was getting jobs there, and I was like, oh, I want to get a job there because it's close to my house, and it paid well at that time, which was like $13. And so when I get there for the interview, it's like a really big group interview, and one by one, she's like, do you do drugs? Are you high right now? And I was like, no. And she's like, okay, put this in your mouth, and if you pass, you got the job, and we'll call you to set something up. And I was like, oh, is that it? You guys don't have to ask any questions? She's like, nope, that's it. And so we had orientation. It was a big group of people. And the orientation, they're like, you don't get any time off from October to January because that's peak holiday season. Not a single day off you can request. We can't request holiday or anything like that. I didn't get any sick days. And all of these shifts were like 12-hour shifts. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, I still proceed and I get the job. I go to my first day there. And it's like a really ghost town, like really depressing aura. A lot of older people. And I was like 18 at the time. And I was really sad. And I didn't feel right. I wanted to cry. So I said, can I go to the bathroom? And I ran away and I went home and I never went back again. Yeah, so that's my story.